April 2nd marks the 20th anniversary of the death of Pope St. John Paul II. The saint was a beacon for the pro-life movement, the dignity of the human person from conception to natural death, and the beauty of marriage and family. St. John Paul II was well known for his Theology of the Body, a collection of general audience reflections on marriage, human sexuality, and the human person made in the image of God. In his Theology of the Body, he expounded profoundly upon Pope St. Paul VI's encyclical Humanae Vitae, which reiterates the Church's unwavering teachings against contraception. He also defended life in his 1995 encyclical Evangelium Vitae, the Gospel of Life, declaring, "Man's life comes from God. It is his gift, his image and imprint, a sharing in his breath of life. God, therefore, is the sole Lord of this life. Man cannot do with it as he wills." Joining me now is Jason Evert, speaker and author, co-founder of the Chastity Project, and host of the podcast Lust is Boring. Jason, thank you so much for joining us again. First, could you outline for us the central tenets of Theology of the Body? What was the main message that Pope St. John Paul II was trying to send to audiences?
Well, the basic idea is that we're made in the image and likeness of God, and God is love. So we're made in the image and likeness of love. And so things like lust aren't just things we shouldn't do. In the end, it's not really who we are. And so when God created us, he said, it's all very good. But then he said, but it's not good for man to be alone. And the reason for that is because if we're made in the image and likeness of God, and God is a communion of life-giving persons in this union of love, then we're made to make a gift of ourselves in love. And so his teaching is really not just like a litany of prohibitions, do all these things, you're going to go to hell. It's more, this is how to express God's love in and through your body. So it is good news. It totally reframes the church's teachings on human sexuality in a way that really leads in with beauty and then truth and goodness as well. Because you can argue with what's good and true, but to me, beauty is irrefutable.
Indeed. Now, Pope St. John Paul II discusses responsible parenthood in relation to the transmission of life. Can you explain what this means?
Well, I think a lot of times when people hear that phrase, responsible parenthood, they think about having fewer children, limiting children. But sometimes responsible parenthood means having more children, because the best gift you could give to a child ultimately is really a sibling. And so now the church understands. The church will never tell you exactly how many kids to have, but God will. And so the question is, do we trust him with our bodies? Do we trust him with our families? And if there is a serious reason to postpone pregnancy for a while, that you can always use what's called natural family planning or fertility awareness methods. There's no need to be at odds with our own body. And so instead of kind of conforming a woman's body to our desires with chemicals or hormones or barriers, what we should do is conform our desires to the perfect way her body has already been created. And this is authentic sexual liberation. I don't think it's any surprise that of the 50 or 60 or so young couples that John Paul II took into the wilderness to teach about love, responsibility, marriage, they had a grand total divorce rate of 0%. So whatever it was that he was teaching them, it obviously was working.
And some might argue that his Theology of the Body is more relevant today than it was back then. What message do you think Pope St. John Paul II would have for our times?
Well, one of the things that he wrote in his book, Love and Responsibility, is that the greater the feeling of responsibility you have for your beloved, the more real love there is. And so this is something I think we need to bring into every single relationship. And during this time in human history where it seems that we've lost sight of what it even means to be human, we can't even explain what a woman is. John Paul teaches us through the Theology of the Body that our bodies are not meaningless. Our bodies are meaningful. That's stamped into our bodies is not simply our identity as male or female, but our calling to discover ourselves through a total gift of self. And so whether it's a question of gender, premarital sex, or contraception, the Theology of the Body reframes all these things in a way that reveals the fact that we're all created good and to make a gift of ourselves. So if someone's not familiar with Theology of the Body, I encourage you, find some books that can popularize it, familiarize it, because it's really, as George Weigel, his biographer, said, a theological time bomb set to go off this millennium with drastic consequences for the whole world.
That's incredible. And speaking of this theme of givenness, I hear you're promoting a new publication of a meditation written by St. John Paul II on givenness. Can you talk to us about that and its importance for married couples today?
Yeah, in the year 1994, the year of the family, John Paul wrote this meditation on givenness, but for whatever reason, nobody really knows, never published it during his lifetime. In 2005, he passed away. 2006, it came out in Italian, not in English till 2011, but it was an online journal called Communio on page 871. And so it just remained inaccessible to so many people. I discovered just recently and read this, and I'm like, I think this is one of the most beautiful things John Paul has ever written on human love. I need to buy a bunch of copies and give them out to the young people we take on our wilderness backpacking retreats. And I found you can't buy it. It's not in print. And I said, what's going on? So I reached out to the publisher and I said, hey, could we have the rights to print this in a license? And they said, we'll look into it. And they emailed me back and they said, sure, it's yours. And they gave us givenness. And so this meditation on givenness weaves together these central themes of St. John Paul II's pontificate, from dignity of womanhood to the gift of self to the theology of the body, in a beautiful way. And it's short. It's only 30 pages long or so in print. And so we just printed it. It just came from the printer this week. And it's really a beautiful reflection on human love, whether it's for married people, priests, singles. You're going to find a tremendous amount of beautiful insights from the heart of John Paul II in this relatively undiscovered work of his.
That's incredible. I can't wait to read it. And thank you so much, Jason, for making it available to others and for sharing your insights today.
Well, thank you for having me on. If people want the book, they can just go to chastity.com and it's right there.
Thank you.